Good morning, everyone. I too didn't expect this many people, but I'm happy to be here. My name is Iris Catholique. I'm from the LKDFN First Nation, and I am the Thaidene Nëné manager. These are my counterparts with the GNWT and Parks, so I'll just let them introduce themselves.
Sure, I'm Laani. I'm with Parks Canada, and as Iris said, I'm the lead for the federal government and work really closely with Iris and Darin.
And I'm Darren Bagshaw with the GNWT, the lead for ENR on Thaidene Nëné, and collectively Laani and I are also part of Iris's entourage. So,
also I have a big team here. I've got other staff that are working within Thaidene Nëné here. We have Prairie Desjardins. We have Laura Michelle. We have one of our elders that sit on our wildlife committee, August, our wildlife manager, Glenn. Of course, you guys all know Steve. This is his baby, Tracy. So, you know, it does take a really big team to make something so great happen. So there's all sorts of other people that I could name. I could stand up here and recognize like pretty much everyone in my community because they were all part of the process. But anyway, I'll just present what I'm here to present. So I'm here to provide a brief overview about Thaidene Nëné in the context of Indigenous-led approaches to protected area management and monitoring. So Thaidene Nëné, what that translates to, it means in our language, land of the ancestors. And it's located on and adjacent to the east arm of the Great Slave Lake near my community of Lützelke. The entire complex of Thaidene Nëné is an indigenous protected area. It's made up of 3 different entities. First of all, the dark green area in the middle is the National Park Reserve. So that's created by Parks Canada. And the light green portions of the map is the first territorial protected area created in the NWT under the new Protected Areas Act. The third, the blue area, I know it gets really complicated, but the blue area will be the future wildlife conservation area under the NWT Wildlife Act. And also there's a fourth set in the red area that were part of the initial land withdrawal and were the boundaries for Thaidene Nëné. So, like with the last presentation, we had to come to a compromise. So we had a huge area, but we made it smaller so we can all agree. All right, so what's important about our area? There are several key ecological and cultural features that make Thaidene Nëné very special. Thaidene Nëné has a strong cultural connection to the people of Lützelke and all the others that have traveled to our traditional area. In addition to hunting, fishing, and gathering, there's many different spiritual sites. Many of you may or may not know the story of Tsankwi. She is our grandmother, and she is at Desnache. We do an annual spiritual pilgrimage every year, usually the first week in August, and we go there and we ask her for help if we all need it, just to make us better. From an ecological perspective, the East Arm has really awesome landscapes. It has spectacular cliffs, islands, the deepest fresh water in North America. It's got lots of fish. There's another story about that, but we're not going to go there. The entire Thaidene Nëné area has many rivers and waterfalls, landscape formations shaped by adjacent ice fields, and there's different areas, transitions from the boreal forest and the tundra. It's also a very important area for barren ground caribou, which of course is very, very close to our hearts. You can switch the slide. Are we there? Oh, okay. So Parks Canada's interest in the area, now known as Thaidene Nëné, began back in the 1970s. However, back then there were concerns over the impacts of harvesting impacts on harvesting and treaty rights and that sort of thing, so it kind of got shelved. In the early 2000s, there was a mining boom, as you all are well aware of. And because of the concerns about land and wildlife in our area, Lutzelk'e initiated discussions with Parks Canada to create a protected area. So these discussions evolved to incorporate multiple Indigenous governments. And in August of 2019, when both the National Park Reserve and the Territorial Park area were established, the wildlife conservation area that was identified on the map was established, or will be established in February of 2021. Presently, we are getting closer to finalizing our operational management board, which includes appointees from our First Nation, from public governments, and we're hoping to have that meeting soon. So there'll be an announcement of who that management board is. It's going to be a trilateral board, so you'll have people from Parks and ENR and our First Nations making management decisions on Thaidene Nëné. I am going to pass the mic on to Darin now. Because, yeah, I feel like it's his turn.
Okay, all right.
Do you need this one?
Next one, I guess, yeah. Okay. So the shocking shift here that I wasn't prepared for, but anyway. So, yeah, Thaidene Nëné, there's a number of unique characteristics with Thaidene Nëné. We've got to have agreements with multiple Indigenous governments, including Lutzelk'e, who have been the catalyst of this from day one. So that's interesting, and we've had to try to mesh all of these agreements together to make them work well together. So it took a lot of time to put together, but we think we're well on our way. We also these agreements were signed. Separate agreements were signed with Parks Canada and with the GNWT. So several different agreements that were involved in the creation of this area. As mentioned in the previous slide, that we have two management entities for Thaidene Nëné. That's the Operational Management Board and a Regional Management Board. And generally speaking, the Operational Management Board is focused on management planning and just day-to-day operations of the area, while the Regional Management Board also works on management planning, but it's focused more on higher level policy development. Now, while the agreements with Parks Canada and GNWT required technically a creation of two separate operational boards, one for the National Park Reserve and one for the Territorial Protected Area, these boards will, in practice, work together as one. They will essentially have the same appointees, facilitator, and then they may discuss issues related to either the National Park Reserve, the Territorial Protected Area, or both, depending on what the issues might be. So finally, on the ground, operations are also a strong collaboration with Guardians programs. And then for Lutzelk'e, that would be the Nahatni Dene program that's well established and expanding as Thaidene Nëné moves forward. And I think Prairie's going to speak to that later on in the gathering. So, rather than pass it back again, I think that's the end of our presentation. So thank you for listening to us, and if you have any questions, and we welcome you all someday to visit Thaidene Nëné. Thank you.
Good job.
Any questions for Iris and her entourage? One question, Claudia, could you bring that over there? I'm going to set up the next presentation.
What's the need for operational management boards as well as a regional management board a requirement under the new Protected Area Act, or just because of negotiations? Why these different boards?
Because of the unique nature of each of the areas that are being talked about here in this part of the session, this Southeast NWT had its own unique characteristics, and because of that, to ensure that all the participants had some form of representation and participation and strong participation, that these were the two structures that we had to build. But wasn't a requirement of the of the Protected Areas Act.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, you guys. Good job.